Welcome to a special live edition on this Monday night of On the Pen. Good to be here with each and every one of you. My name is Dave Knapp. I'm the man on the Manjaro. That's why I'm here. You are on the pen. What pen are we on? Well, we're on Wegovy. We're on Saxenda, Victoza, Trulicity, Manjaro, Zepbound, Compound. We are on the pen together, and that is what we talk about here at OTP on this special edition of On the Pen Live. Spoonie's in the house, Brittany's in the house, DJ's in the house. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being the best part of what we do at On the Pen. I couldn't, wouldn't, and shouldn't do it without you. It's so good to be here with you all. It's been a while since we've been able to do this together. And we're going to get back into the swing of things in terms of doing live streams here on YouTube and TikTok and everywhere you'd like to join On the Pen. And we're going to do a Q&A. We're going to cover everything tonight over on TikTok. We've got Jamie in the house, one of our favorite recurring guests on the Pen. Just an amazing journey. Jamie, triplet dad of TikTok. He's changed his name about 80,000 times. But I still know him as Triplet Dad. Good to have you here. The real Tiffany's in the house. Welcome, Howard. Thank you for being here. And we're going to jump right into it tonight. And we are going to take your questions. Wow, we got a whole bunch of people joining here on YouTube. Welcome. No Hat Monday. That's right. I mean, it is handy. The hat is always handy. But yeah, we're going hatless tonight. Because why not? I just wanted to spend some time with you all tonight because it's been a long time. And quite frankly, I miss doing the interactive live. Sometimes we'll do our podcast live. If you don't know about our podcast, it is one of the top rated in the United States and a globally ranked podcast at that. But one of the top rated podcasts in the country called On the Pen, the Weekly Dose podcast. If you have seen the podcast, put Weekly Dose in the comment. We do that live sometimes and other times we don't. I mean, it just depends on what's going on for the week. But we've got a great podcast lined up for you tomorrow. The Sassy Sisters in the house, Woodkirky, Melissa, Losing It, Grays. Awesome to have you here, George. Thank you for being here. Journey says, nice, fresh cut. That's amazing. Yeah, the Weekly Dose podcast, indeed. It is a pleasure to be here. Laura's in the house as well. Thank you for being here, Laura. Appreciate having you here. And thank you to everyone who's joining on TikTok. So this is an interactive live. I'm here to take all the questions that you have on the topic of GLP-1 medications. If you're new to GLP-1s, put new to GLP-1 in the chat. It's been a long time since we've interacted with a lot of these folks. So many of you come into to the community and are new to GLP-1, like 1966 Rebel Boy over on TikTok. It's good to have you here. Welcome. Happy to take your questions. DJ's got a question right off the bat. Has anyone noticed when the prescription is ordered from a different pharmacy, they did not react the same? Curious what you mean by that, DJ, in terms of react that way, the same way. Do you mean in cost or how quickly they fill it? Definitely there can be some hiccups and some pain points. The 15 milligram vials are coming. Your doctor can order them now, and they should be orderable and receivable within the next week, I believe, from Eli Lilly, if not already. Big T, welcome. Samantha, good to have you. Big T's been here since the beginning, and it's been so good to have you here. Dawn is on GLP and ZEP and also an SAID patient. It's a type of weight loss surgery. So good to have you here. All of our bariatric patients, we appreciate having you here. Any on 15 milligram TERS? I've been on 15 milligrams Manjaro for the better part of the better part of 2 years now. I've been on a 15 milligram dose as a type 2 diabetic. Of course, I take Manjaro. That's why you knew me for the longest time as man on the Manjaro. That's sort of how this all started here. On the pen was man on the Manjaro at first. That's why I've got this little homage in the background. If you can see it over on YouTube, the moon game behind me. It's an actual board game that my wife gave me for my birthday, and the kids play it. It's over here. Kind of a fun little game. So does one place work better than another? DJ says there definitely can be better better pharmacies than others. It seems like the mail order ones are usually pretty spot on, but then you have to deal with things being mail ordered, right? So there's temperature things. I've had that happen several times. I made a whole series of videos called Frozempic during the wintertime, where my Ozempic actually came frozen. And so the mail order ones, Amazon Pharmacy, I hate to say it, your local pharmacy probably wants your business, but as you may or may not know, your local pharmacy actually loses a little bit of money when they fill your script because of the PBMs and how they do rebates on this. Mitsu Gray says, if obesity meds get approved by Medicare, what might happen if you have reached your goal and still need the RX for maintenance? That is an excellent question. And that is why, Mitsu, it is so, am I saying your name correctly? That is why it's so important when you are getting your prescription filled by a telehealth company. It's sort of one of the disadvantages is if they're not keeping good records, because when you have to go for that prior authorization from your insurance for that maintenance dose, your doctor should be using your starting weight. And so you want to make sure that your starting weight is what is included in that diagnosis code. Otherwise, if they put you at a BMI that's healthy and normal, you're likely to get that prior authorization denied. And so we don't want to see that happen for anybody. So you want to make sure your doctor is keeping good records, and you want to make sure when they fill out that prior authorization that you are indeed getting the initial starting weight included with that prior authorization. Thank you for the likes. If you're new here, hit the thumbs up button. That really helps get the message out on what we're doing here at On the Pen. So hit that thumbs up button. If you're on TikTok, smash the screen. That's all you got to do there. And thank you for being here. Over on YouTube, we've got another question here from Shelly on the jab. I like that. On the jab, on the pen, on the jab. We're all on it. That's the point, right? Why do you think compound pharmacies are ramping up productions again? Some that stopped have started again. That's absolutely true. We have firsthand knowledge of this, that 503Bs, which are the outsourcing facilities, are now making mass producing the GLP-1s that prior to the shortages were mass producing them, but once the shortages ended, we're not. I have my own theories on why that is. I'll be doing an upcoming video on that shortly. Do I know if you can get medical records from telehealth provider on Zep for 2 years now? You should be able to reach out to certainly they're keeping logs of that. Hopefully they're keeping good. It's going to depend on who you're with, how easy that is to get, but I would definitely send them an email, whoever you're with, and ask them for a list of your medical records so that you can have those and maybe share those with your primary care physician. Another question from Losing It with Grays: with the current administration pushing for U.S. drug prices to align with what other countries pay, how might Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk respond? Genuine reform, strategic resistance, or just more optics? It's very interesting. This has been a topic of conversation with other members in the community, and a really interesting one, I think. So I appreciate the question, Losing It with Grays, and thank you for being here. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button so that you get all the updates for all the news that we bring here at On the Pen. I think it's a really great question, and I think it's one that I have my own theories about. I believe what's happening is that the whole Trump administration dropping the potential for Medicare to cover GLP-1s sort of in the first quarter of this year was all about being able to reapply leverage later against Lilly and Novo Nordisk to get them to lower their prices. In other words, they'll say, hey, if you want to open your weight loss medications, your obesity medications to the Medicare market, we want to see you comply with the most favored nations. Right now, most favored nations is an executive order. It's not an actual law. It uses the Medicare framework within that law to help get these companies to comply, but they don't have any real teeth behind it. Right. So what I think is going to happen is I think the Trump administration will get Lilly and Novo to the table. Now, when you look at specifically what other countries pay, it's not most favored nations is not just about getting the cost down in the United States. It's about getting it up in other countries, and the pharmaceutical companies working sort of in tandem with the administration to get those prices up in other countries. Now, the interesting thing from my vantage point is right now you already have a direct cash pay option from Lilly and Novo, and you have that cash pay price at around $499. Now, the best thing that I can see is that $200 to $300 is what similar countries are paying. That's similar to what they're paying in the UK and Canada and Australia. is around $200 to $300 a month, right? So the ideal thing would be, from the pharmaceutical perspective, if this is to work, is that those other countries would come up to maybe 300 to 400, and in the United States would come down to 300 to 400 on that price. I think that's sort of the impetus behind it. But when you talk about the cost of obesity medications, really these drug companies have they've faced a lot of scrutiny from their investors in bringing the cost down. Of course, a lot of that cost pressure on those medications are actually from compounded medications. As we talked about earlier, the 503Bs are actually ramping up the production of their 503B compounded pharmacies. They are making them from everything that I see in the custom dosing realm. And so they're sort of falling under that 503A loophole, let's call it, for lack of a better word. But that pressure has certainly driven down the cost in the United States because of the cash pay option. Now, the bigger problem in the United States, because when you zoom out from the obesity medicines, believe it or not, the obesity medicines that we see are actually reasonably priced compared to some other drugs for chronic diseases. I mean, my wife has a nearly 20-year-old drug for her rheumatoid arthritis, for example, that's over $4,000 a month, right? And so other chronic diseases have exorbitantly high costs for drugs too. And so we want to see prescription drugs come across the board down, right? And more in alignment with what they're paying in the rest of the world. And perhaps obesity medicines may not be the best example of the exorbitant cost differences between the rest of the world, perhaps maybe because these drugs coming to market have sort of coincided with the Trump administration, who has, even as early as their first administration, pushed this idea of most favored nation. So perhaps seeing that coming forward and on their radar, that that could have been added pressure to get them to have that cash pay price offered, but we'd like to see that. We'd like to see that happen. A question from Deborah. Appreciate those who put a Q in front of their question. It helps me to see it, especially since I'm monitoring over on TikTok and on YouTube. We've got nearly 400 people total, pushing 500 in the live stream between the two of them right now. And so, well, there's other places we're streaming too, but trying to keep up with these. So Deborah says, is there any truth to Zepbound losing effectiveness? Now, I'm going to actually make some content on this. So let me just tell you a little bit about my own journey. I plan on doing an update. So Donna on TikTok's asking, how are you? Deborah over on YouTube is asking, is there any truth to losing effectiveness over long-term use? I would say that I'm seeing it more and more. The clinical trials don't bear that out, right? We have two really relatively large size studies on tirzepatide, Mounjaro Zepbound, a 3-year study and a 4-year study. That was not seen in those studies. The weight loss was sustained. Now, when it comes to effectiveness, there are other creators that I've seen that have been around. We've been around making content on this since like the dawn of Mounjaro. That's really when I started, was just a couple months after Mounjaro came out. So I've been making content ever since then. Does it lose effectiveness? I would say for me, after about the 4th month or 5th month, I stopped losing weight. And about the 6th to 8th month, I started to regain. And so it's for me, the weight loss side of it has been a struggle, right? I will share more about my own journey. I will share this though. Over the last month and a half, 2 months, I am down to my lowest weight ever on a GLP-1. But that is after, a significant amount of regain. Right. And so in making some drastic lifestyle changes to make that happen. You've also seen diabetics who say that even at the highest dose of Mounjaro, after a few years on it, their A1C is starting to creep back up. So is there some fatigue in the beta cells of the pancreas after a while? We know that these medications actually stimulate those beta cells. There's some anecdotal studies that show that they may potentially help preserve the function of the beta cells. But many people do report that it just loses its luster. I mean, you do definitely, everybody seems to have a plateau that they hit from a weight loss perspective with these medications. Not everybody. Some people, they never even dose up the 5 milligram. They stay there. They lose all their weight. But these are not created equal. And the reason behind that, really, I don't think is a knock on the drug as much as it is a indictment on the fact that obesity is a chronic relapsing disease. And it's a disease that is not all people experience the same way. Right. And so I think for some people, the answer is yes, it can lose its effectiveness over long-term use. And I think for others, it probably won't. And I think that's why you're seeing the clinical trials designed to keep people at lower doses if they're responding to lower doses. But all of the former studies that we've seen have really pushed people to that high dose. And so I think getting some more real world trials will help to bear that out, right, and help people maximize the effectiveness of these drugs over the long haul. So thank you for the question. I'm going to keep moving, or I'm going to fall way behind. Losing It with Grace says, if obesity medication prices stabilize globally and access expands, are we on the verge of another shortage now that more people can afford brand name? I think what's happened, Losing It Grace, thank you again for the question. I appreciate that. AJ, hey, welcome. Thank you for being here. I think the difference between now and then, obviously there's more people getting on these drugs every single month as you know, it's just amazing. Watch the amount of creators that there are out there sharing their story. It seems like everybody that pops up is a, you know, Johnny on Zepbound, or my Zepbound life, or, you know, your favorite Zepbound girly. There's so many people getting on these medications, and you can just tell by how many creators are coming out and sharing their journey. And as more and more people do, more and more people learn about these medications. It's a beautiful thing because people are getting care and access to these medications. The thing that's different, a long-winded way of saying, the thing that's different now is Novo made an acquisition in December, or Novo Holdings did, of a company called Catalent, which vastly increased their manufacturing capacity from the finish and fill side, which is, you know, it's not that hard to make the drug. It is harder to make the pens. And so you got a $16 billion investment from Novo just on that one acquisition alone. They've also invested $20 billion in infrastructure around the world. You've seen about $30 to $40 billion in infrastructure investment in the United States by Eli Lilly as well. And so the capacity is coming online to make more medication. Will these companies be able to keep up? I don't know. But I do think that it does force the question, and I think it's a reasonable question. Will they be harder to get? I think the biggest surge that we've seen in these drugs has been over the last couple of years, and TBD on what happens. But I think what's going to happen over the next 1 to 2 years is you're going to see some other players come into the market besides Lilly and Novo. And I think that's a really positive thing when we talk about long-term accessibility to these medications. You know, one of the companies that I'm most excited about, I'm even invested in this company a little bit, is Viking Therapeutics. Viking Therapeutics has a really interesting proposition with VK2735. You can go peruse my content on YouTube and TikTok about that. But you've got Viking Therapeutics, you've got Boehringer Ingelheim with survodutide, which is a GLP-1 glucagon agonist. So you're going to see some other companies come into the game. Roche is in the game. There are some others too, Metsera, that are a little bit farther down the line. You're going to see a lot of companies get into this, and I think in a big way. And so I don't think the shortages will get as bad as they were. Another question from Losing It with Grace is, if obesity, sorry, that's the same question there. Jumping ahead. Natalie is in the house. Welcome, Natalie. It's always good to see you. Natalie D is a long-term OG on the Penner. She said, Dave, have you seen any studies on people who've gone off GLP-1s and they have gone back on? I took a break, gained some weight, and I'm back on Wegovy. I haven't seen any studies on people going off and going back on, but I do believe I saw that there is one kind of going on in that realm, at least like a post-marketing study. And so I'm hopeful to see some data on that, because I think by and large, a lot of people say when they get back on that they're not as potent as they once were. You know, I think it's going to be a case-by-case basis, and I think it depends on how high you had to go up in the doses your first time around to get the required results. But what we have seen, and Natalie knows this, but for those who are listening, what we have seen is we have seen that people go off these medications, they do regain weight pretty aggressively, even when they still employ the lifestyle modifications. And I think that can all be chalked up to the fact that this is addressing a metabolic dysfunction in a lot of people. It's a hormonal dysfunction. We just did a long video. I hope you'll check it out. We did it on TikTok. It didn't get very far on TikTok, but over on YouTube. It's a really good video about DPP4, an enzyme that breaks down these naturally occurring hormones. And it's all sorts of dysregulated in people with metabolic dysfunction. And so I hope you'll check that video out. And if you did, let me know in the comments. Real Anchorman, it's good to see you here. I see a lot of great people in the comments tonight who have been around for a long time. So thank you for being here, Real Anchorman. He wants to know if I think that the Trump administration will get the prices to drop. I think they will, but we kind of talked about this at the top. I don't think it's going to be super dramatic because their cash pay price is not too far off from what those other countries are paying, right? $200 to $300 in the UK, in Canada, in Australia, a little bit different pricing tier. So it's hard to apples it. But with the $499, I think you could see it come down to $300 to $400 a month. And you could see those other countries come up to $300 to $400. So I think they will lower, but if you're expecting $100 Zepbound, I wouldn't expect that. I would expect Wegovy naturally, because of the fact that they're losing so much ground to Zepbound, that Wegovy may come down even yet this year. We've talked a little bit about that. Pammy, Manjaro Journey with Pam. Good to have you here. She's been on Manjaro for 2 years, and at 1.5 years, I was trying to stop losing and go into maintenance. I was on 10 milligrams for 10 months, and I frequently lost 10 pounds a month. Yeah, I think, that's why low and slow seems to be winning out in the real world, right? So instead of the clinical trials, which want to crank you right up to the 15 milligram dose as soon as possible with Zepbound, I think what's happening in the real world is people are actually getting a better benefit from the lower doses, and so they're staying there. So the more weight you can lose on the lower doses, the less you need to maintain. And if you come off, theoretically, the less you would need to sort of get back to where you were, right, as a better responder. And so Real Anchorman was stuck on Zepbound. He moved to, sounds like, research grade retatrutide and started losing again. That's great that it was helpful for you to sort of break that stall. Always with the caveat that definitely be careful when you're sourcing from those types of places. We don't talk about that too much on this channel, but I know a lot of people are using those. Has anyone seen insulin numbers go up with long-term uses? I think that's a natural thing to have happen, your insulin levels, because what it's doing is actually making you more efficient at producing insulin, right? It affects the beta cells in your pancreas, which are responsible for secreting insulin. The reason is that GLP-1 and GIP stimulate those in response to nutrient intake. And so it makes you more efficient. So your blood sugar is probably coming down, right? But in order for your blood sugar to come down, your insulin levels have to go up. And that's why it's important to know what foods you eat spike your blood sugars, because that's all going to affect how much insulin your body makes. When you make a bunch of insulin, it makes it harder to lose that weight, because insulin's number one job as a hormone is to store energy, right? Thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging out with me tonight. It's great to be here. I'm just asking that you would all hit the thumbs up button. While you're here, hit that like button. It really helps to push the content that we're doing, and I really, really appreciate the support in that way. It's something that you can do totally free. I'm also going to take just a quick moment in between answering questions to let you all know that we have a newsletter, and there's some huge news coming out in the next couple of weeks on compounded medications, on the price of branded medications. It's all stuff that is coming. You don't want to be a slave to the algorithm, right? The algorithm is going to choose what you see and what you don't see. But if you sign up for email alerts at obesity.news, or you can find it in the show notes or the description of the video, obesity.news, type that into your browser, and it's going to give you email updates on the fly as the news breaks, and you're never beholden to what the algorithm tries to show you or tries to hide from you. Pammy, have you seen the study that says we can either titrate down into maintenance or stay at the highest and spread it out? I haven't seen a study that shows that, but in the real world, we are seeing people are maintaining in one of two ways. They are either lowering their dose until they stop losing and they're able to maintain, or they are spreading. The doctor will say, hey, stay on that 10 milligram dose, but we're going to try it every 10 days, or we're going to try it every 15 days. Now, what you have to do if you're doing that is to pay attention. If you're on the Lilly vials, you've got to refill every 45 days, or you're going to lose the benefit of that $499 a month cash pay price. Right. So that's something that you want to definitely be aware of. If you're stretching your shots out, don't miss that refill with Lilly Direct, because that is a bummer if that goes up. And I believe at the 15 milligram dose, that can go all the way up to like $1,000. At that point, you just switch back to the pens and use their savings card. But for those who are getting the Lilly vial, something to be aware of. Tom, watching over on YouTube, hey, hit the subscribe button if you're new here. I'm seeing a lot of new faces. Welcome here. Thank you for being here. Follow along, follow the live creator if you're over on TikTok as well. Does any timeline on other GLP-1s like retatrutide becoming available? Yes. So retatrutide, I believe, end of 2026, early 2027 is the tentative timeline for retatrutide. We will see CagriSema, which is the next iteration of semaglutide plus cagrilintide. Cagrilintide is an amylin agonist. This is from Novo Nordisk. This will be coming out in the first quarter of 2026. Right. So that's the next one we have to look forward to. If you want, you can look into orforglipron, ORFORGLIPRON, or for glipron. Ron was my dad's name. Or Forglipron. That's an oral small molecule GLP-1 that will be coming from Eli Lilly, but it's not going to be as effective as tirzepatide. It's going to be more in the realm of Ozempic and Wegovy, but it is a once daily oral pill instead of a once weekly injectable. And it is a small molecule, so it's a non-peptide. Rita says, hello, this is my first time here. Do you think it's okay to take GLP-1 with SWPP 332 or 332? So that is a peptide. For those of you who don't know, that is a peptide that people may take for various reasons. That is something you want to talk to your doctor about. 100% talk to your doctor about it. You shouldn't be injecting anything into your body without your doctor knowing, and your doctor is going to be the best one to determine what dose that is good to mix with and whether it's safe at all or not. So I just definitely encourage you, if you're on peptides, including gray market peptides, pull your doctor into that conversation. They should know so that they can monitor for because there are inherent risks with research grade chemicals that there are less risks for, or more accountability for, with the branded versions and even the compounded versions. But definitely please pull your doctor into those conversations. That's going to be the best way to go with that. Sai wants to say, have you seen any research on dosing adjustments for the geriatric population? Fairly common for seniors to metabolize medications differently. Thank you for the question. Across the studies for tirzepatide and Zepbound, there was plenty of folks in the senior population that were on those studies. I haven't seen anything about dosing adjustments. There have been they have not delineated, lower dosing for seniors. And I think part of that is with these medications, they are peptides that have been wrapped in, for lack of a better term, I know the chemistry experts in the chat may take umbrage with this explanation, but they've been wrapped in a fat molecule that basically makes it impervious to being broken down by DPP4, which is a natural enzyme your body makes. If you're diabetic or obese, you make more of it. It keeps it from breaking down as quickly, but the half-life in general is around 5 days, or I believe it's around 5 days with tirzepatide. Appreciate the question. It's a good question. But I have not seen any studies that show that the injectable GLP-1s are metabolized different. Now, you may want to talk to your doctor about the oral versions if you get on the oral versions like Rybelsus or next year or Forglipron. Mink with another question. Any studies on maintenance and how fast each patient's body metabolizes GLP-1? There have been some studies about the different half-life. So when I say the half-life is about 5 days, welcome, Sash. Good to have you here. Big Moose got caught up in the Caremark drama. Super frustrating. You should check out our friends at Claimable. Getclaimable.com/OTP. They can help you to basically fight your prior authorization denials. So in terms of how fast each patient's body, it is going to be different for everyone. So I believe 5 days is about the average. And so you want to make sure that you are in tune with your body, because some people are going to be metabolizing it a little bit faster and others are not. Like we talked about in maintenance, people are stretching the doses out. Some doctors are actually prescribing to their patients to take it sooner than 7 days, right? Or splitting their doses up. That is something that the compounded versions or the Ozempic pen allows you to do. That obviously the single injector does not allow you to do. But you have heard stories definitely of patients whose doctors are having them take them early if your sort of effects of the medications are wearing off early. Hey, we got Cloakster in the house. He said, Dave, last I saw, Novo is going to submit CagriSema in early 2026. It won't come out in early 2026. Okay. Yeah, you're right. You're right. So mid 2026 for CagriSema. That's right. They've kind of changed it a couple times because the CagriSema trial ends early enough that they could submit this year, and they have said that they won't. Heather says, you look great, Dave. I see a difference in your face. Thank you, Heather. I appreciate that. I am down to my lowest weight on a GLP-1. And I'm going to get into that with a personal update. So make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel for that. If you're watching on YouTube and you're new, make sure that you subscribe. Cloakster says, unless Novo CEO is more aggressive. The other thing to consider too, when we talk about the potential FDA, potential inevitable approval of CagriSema, retatrutide, Boehringer Ingelheim survodutide. The Trump administration has also announced, or the FDA has also announced, a fast track approval process that could get the approvals down to as low as a month for new drugs. So sort of, making it such that at their the FDA would essentially, if you have a fast track designation, it takes about 6 months right now. The FDA will basically allocate resources to get that approved in as little as a month if your medication and company is sort of aligning with national priorities, which is a potentially exciting thing, and another thing that the Trump administration could hang over these drug companies' head in order to get them to comply with most favored nations, which would bring the cost of the medication down in the near term. Spoonie just became a member. Thank you, Spoonie. I appreciate that. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being the best part of what we do. I hope you're feeling well. Tom, with another question. I was thinking about titrating down on Zepbound, but I was worried the insurance company wouldn't cover it. I have definitely heard some insurance companies making you want to follow the titration schedule. It's like some people who want to stay on 7.5, the insurance company forces them to dose up. I would definitely argue with your insurance company. I wouldn't just roll over and accept that. Have your doctor fill out an exception to that, because you should be able to fight that and beat it, because your insurance company should not be making those medical decisions for you, for sure. Some people have been able to do that just fine. Go back a dose, go up a dose, but some insurance companies do cause a headache for you, and on purpose. I mean, the ultimate goal is they don't want to pay for the medication. So anything they can do. We just fought for 2 months. Our insurance company changed June 1st, and every time our insurance company changes, we have to fight to get my wife's rheumatoid arthritis medicine. And so she was weeks without it while her arm was wearing out, and then she was using her other one, and so that arm was wearing out. She was just an absolute mess. And it's one of the most infuriating things about our healthcare system is when these PBMs get in the middle of everything and they actually do things that are detrimental to people's health. Like, I think we should be able to sue the snot out of the PBMs for keeping my wife's medication from her when she's stable on a medication. There is a new law in Iowa now. I've explored it a little bit, but that's supposed to help keep patients on medications that they're stable on. But I've read some conflicting things about how that's been interpreted. But PBM reform is one of the most important things that doesn't get talked about enough. We're talking a lot about most favored nations bringing down the cost of these medications. If we bring down the cost of these medications, the insurance stuff won't be as big of an issue. But the big thing is when you zoom out from GLP-1s, the PBM stuff that goes on is just a nightmare. I mean, people die. It gets that serious because these PBMs are making medical decisions from boardrooms that they have no business doing. And so, man, I get very fired up when it comes to this. I mean, my wife has been in such a bad way with her arthritis because PBMs, they block people from getting care. 23,000 likes over on TikTok. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you're not following me, make sure that you hit follow the live creator. If you're not subscribed to YouTube, make sure that you hit the subscribe button. That really helps out the work that we do. I'm eternally grateful for it. We've got some really interesting stuff coming up this week. Wednesday, we have Novo Nordisk earnings call. There'll be, I'm sure, questions for their new CEO. Will they be suing compounders? Will they be suing hims and hers? I think is a big question that they're going to get asked. Will they be more aggressive, as Cloakster said, in bringing CagriSema to market once that trial ends? I hope that he ends up being more aggressive than the previous CEO, Lars Jorgensen. So yeah, PBMs practicing medicine is one of the most frustrating things about our medical system here. Zippy says CVS Caremark is forcing me to use Wegovy. I will play their game. Yeah. If you get Wegovy, just make them fill it. And then, tell your doctor the second you have a side effect from it, you want to make sure that's documented and get yourself back on the Zepbound. Or you can check out our friends at Claimable, getclaimable.com/OTP. Use the code OTP to save 10%. It's only $40, and they have a very high rate at helping people get their medicines back. I've heard from many in the OTP community have been able to get their Zepbound back because of what they've done at Claimable. So a little plug for our friends over at Claimable. Any other questions tonight? Appreciate you hanging out with me tonight. It's been a pleasure to be here live with you. I'm going to make a couple announcements here. Thank you for being here and hanging out with us tonight. We will be bringing back our Thursday night live show. I don't know if we're going to do it Thursday night. It will probably be a pre-recorded show, but we will be bringing that back. We took an hiatus from the summer. I had some health issues. I'm really glad that I took that off because of the health issues that I had at the beginning of this summer. The Lord took care of me, and so I'm eternally grateful for the Lord's protection there. It helped me to be able to step back a little bit and get better, and I'm feeling great. I am now down to my lowest weight ever on a GLP-1, and so yeah, but we will be bringing the show back. If you liked our show On the Pen Live, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you might like to see from a new improved version of On the Pen Live as well. I heard your voice today and didn't recognize it. Interesting. Heard my voice where? Here? Thank you, PJ. I appreciate it. Thank you for the well wishes. I really appreciate that. Why are they changing their CEO right at the height of everything? It's a good question. I think that's a really loaded question. But I mean, they've lost a lot of ground to Eli Lilly as the bottom line. They've lost a lot of ground to the compounders. And they just had to revise their earnings in a pretty big way. They're being sued by their investors. That was breaking news today. Novo Nordisk is being sued by their investors. And really, because investors want to see them charging more for these medications, they believe that the data backs up a higher price. And so this is the tension in the world that we live in. Essentially, I think you're going to see a more aggressive and I hope that I'm wrong on this, but a less patient focused CEO with Novo Nordisk. I feel like that's the edge that Novo has had on Lilly, is they seem to be a very patient-centric people. Let's just say people-centric, whether they're talking about their employees and the people that make these drugs and the sustainability around which they do it. That seems to be the culture there at Novo Nordisk. I'm not saying that it isn't at Lilly. It's just that Novo is really out in the open with that. But I think that a lot of people are frustrated about that with Novo Nordisk in terms of investors. I think it's unfortunate because I think their CEO is a pretty good one. But we'll see what happens. Mink says we're doing God's work here at On the Pen. Zepbound has changed their life, and On the Pen is such a valuable resource for you. So thank you for that, Mink. I appreciate that. Thank you for the kind words. I really, really appreciate that. Is Canada really going to make generic Wegovy and Ozempic? So we're going to see generic semaglutide in Canada in 2026. Hims and Hers is likely going to be making a generic version there. They said that they are on their earnings call. They said it actually before their earnings call today. And the price target is going to be between $70 and $100. But check this out. Next year alone, semaglutide generics are launching in over 90 countries. 90 countries for generic semaglutide next year. That will change the landscape of this too, right? But it sounds like the generic version of semaglutide in 2026 will be available between $70 and $100 in Canada next year and launching in about 90 other countries. Price increases won't help Novo and may hurt them. I think that's true. I think that's true. But the launch of CagriSema, I think the CagriSema data is another reason why the CEO, I think, is getting ousted. They did not handle that well. CagriSema didn't show enough weight loss in the clinical trial to eclipse Zepbound, but really that was a trial design issue, and they just did a horrible job explaining that and really making the case in general from a PR perspective on how important it is that they change that. Downsizing Diva's in the house. She said, "You're glad you're back. You look great. Thank you. It's good to be back." Any idea when retatrutide will be available? 2027, sometime 2027. I'm going to say middle of 2027, unless they take get a faster track from the FDA, which they could. So early to mid 2027, but probably maybe even mid to late 2027. When can you expect compound pharmacies to stop cutting and going back to full meds available? The 503Bs are already getting back up and running. We know that that's happening. So if you're on compound, I don't anticipate that it's going anywhere anytime soon. If your A1C is low, no need to dose up. My A1C was 4.3 and they continued to increase my dose. Yeah. Depends on what the reason you're taking it for, but sure, certainly 4.3 A1C is very low. So if you're diabetic, that is an excellent response to Mounjaro. Thank you for those who are hitting the thumbs up button. Thank you for those who are subscribing to our TikTok and our YouTube channel, and wherever you're watching. Let me know where you're watching in the comments. But really appreciate that. Really appreciate all of you who are subscribing and help us grow here. We are growing the first patient-centric obesity medicine news platform. And so you all are helping me do that, especially those of you who are Substack subscribers. You helped us go to Washington, D.C. last month. You helped us get some other creators there even. So your generosity is not unnoticed. Thank you for the gifts over on TikTok. I appreciate that. Your gifts are not unnoticed. Your generosity is not unnoticed, and we do everything we can to pay that forward. So thank you for all of your support. Sign up for our email alerts at obesity.news. Obesity.news is going to be where you're going to get breaking news to your inbox. So if you like emails with all the news that is pertinent to your accessibility of GLP-1 medications, it is absolutely imperative that you jump in to obesity.news and sign up for email alerts. Thank you for the follows. Thank you for the thumbs up. Deborah's watching from Syracuse, New York. I've been to Syracuse before. Had a client in my last job that was out there. So I've been out there. It's a nice little town. Thank you, Laura. She said, we appreciate you, Dave. I appreciate you too. Thank you for those who support. Laura's an OG, Cloakster's an OG, Spoonie's an OG, Debbie's an OG. Y'all have been supporting me for a long time. And what a platform we've grown. What a platform we've grown here together. So it's been really exciting, and y'all have been a part of this. You sign up at obesity.news. Where do you sign up for email alerts? You just go type obesity.news into your browser. It's a miracle. You just type the words obesity, then a period, and then the word news. And you'll get there. But you can also check out my link tree. It's in my TikTok links, or if you're watching on YouTube, it's in the description of the video as well. But just pump your email in there. It's 90% of what we put out there is free. If you subscribe, you get some extras, right? Some of those deep dives. Jackson said he's really loving the Substack. It's really perfect. You're getting your info out. Yes. Thanks, man. I love what I love about Substack. Thanks for the lead in, Jack. What I love about Substack is you don't need to worry about the algorithms. You're just going to get the news right into your inbox. You've been shorn, looking good. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate that. Yeah. Short haircut right now. But yeah, I've never seen Substack. You don't even need to worry about that it's Substack. It's just a newsletter. So you'll get it to you never have to download anything. You can just get emails. So type in obesity.news. Samantha says it's good to have the Substack info. Appreciate that. Good night, Dawn. Thanks for being here. Cloakster says we're at 71 likes on YouTube. Can we get to 100? Yeah, we're at 28,000 likes on TikTok. Can we at least hit 100 on YouTube? Debbie loves the Substack too. Anna Hoover's in the house. Hello, Anna. Welcome. Thank you for being here. We're about 3 minutes away from my cutoff time. So I want to take this last opportunity to just thank you all for being here. Our new podcast drops tomorrow. If you have not given our podcast a 5-star rating and review, just Google search On the Pen, the weekly dose, and scroll down and just give it 5 stars. You can leave some kind words if you want to as well, but that really makes a difference in helping our podcast get out each and every week. And we are consistently in the top 50 of all podcasts in the medicine category in the United States. It's a big deal. We put a lot of effort into it. We've been doing it for 2.5 years now, and it has just been quite the roller coaster journey here. When are you going to launch a new tagline for OTP? I know that you mentioned it a while back. Yeah, we talked about that. Gosh, I can't even remember what it was. What was it? It has something to do with a pen or injection. I can't even remember. Somebody's going to have to remember. I'll have to go back and watch that video. But anyway. Patient-centric obesity medicine news. That's what we do here. That's what we do. And I really, really appreciate it. Samantha's pushing to get us 30,000 likes on TikTok. Thank you for that. But yeah, live watchers on TikTok. I think at the peak we had maybe 150, 200. So yeah. And then I think at the peak over here, I can't ever delineate who's watching on what platform, but I think at the peak we were at about 200 between Twitter and YouTube as well. So I think we're at 300. Yeah, we're working on some great special guests coming on to OTP. Recently we had Mike on a mission, Jamie Selzler. Mike, I've just been hanging out with a lot. But we've got, we've had the president and CEO of the Obesity Action Coalition recently. We talked to him about compounds. And one of the cool things is that we've got a lineup of really interesting people coming. We've got Dr. Rachel's going to come on pretty soon. We've got the 1,000-Pound Sisters doctor coming on soon. So we've got a couple exciting ones. I've been a little bit slower with the summertime, just trying to take it a little bit easy after the health stuff. But those are some things that we've had lined up. I was also on a podcast recently that'll be dropping sometime soon here, Ethan Suplee. So Ethan Suplee is a actor. You may remember him from Mallrats or My Name is Earl or American History X. He was a real big guy, and he actually had a really big health transformation. It wasn't GLP-1 or bariatric surgery, just sheer will and determination has really gotten his health and his life back. And he has a podcast called American Glutton. And we were on that. I was interviewed on that podcast. Remember the Titans was another one. Ethan Suplee is a great follow. A really great human too. I mean, just so cool to meet so many good humans on this journey, and many of them are in the chat tonight. So thank you for being them. But meeting Ethan Suplee was a pretty cool thing as well. And so that podcast will be airing in the next few weeks, I assume. He has told me that he'll come back and do our podcast later this year too. So Ethan is a really good dude, and I hope that you all will check out his podcast, American Glutton. Really good podcast, and he's got big heavy hitters on there. I don't know, like if you're into comedy at all, but he recently had Tom Segura on. So I'm a big stand-up comedy fan. Two Bears is kind of a funny podcast with Bert Kreischer and Tom Segura. Tom Segura has lost a lot of weight as well, and so yeah, some really interesting folks there. And he had OTP on, and so that was pretty cool. One last question here, and then I got to jump off. News that moves the needle. Oh yeah, that's right, Shelly. Good memory. Shelly on the jab, coming in hot. Yeah, it was. That was it. So do you like patient-centric obesity medicine news? I think that says what we do. But we came up with this other one called News That Moves the Needle. I remember I woke up with that in my head. When this is like the life of a creator or a creative person. I literally woke up with that tagline in my head: News that moves the needle. Right? It's a little play on words, but thank you for remembering that, Shelly. I appreciate that. Now I don't have to go back and look. So. All right. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being the best part of what we do at On the Pen. Make sure you hit that subscribe button before we go. Thank you for hanging out with me for a little bit tonight. It's been a pleasure. I'm actually in the office. My wife has the kids, and I'm in the office doing work. And I just so glad that I had some time to jump on live with you. Show's coming back here in a few weeks. Can't wait to do that. Super interested to hear your feedback on that. If you want to give me some feedback on a new show, maybe what you'd like to see differently in a new show, send me an email, dave@onthepen.com, dave@onthepen.com. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being the best part of what we do. We'll catch you on the next one, my friends.